everyone, Alicia here with another Lightened Up Weight Watcher friendly recipe, and today's recipe is going to be for lightened up blueberry scones. Now, I have never actually done a lightened up version of a scone before. I've made scones before, but I've never done them light. But my husband absolutely loves them, so I thought that would be a fun thing to try and lighten up and make it more Weight Watcher friendly. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. I'm also going to be trying to kind of bulk up the protein amount in them. So kind of twofold, lightening and increasing protein. So actually I'm going to call these protein blueberry scones because of that. But let me jump into ingredients real quick and I'll show you what I'm going to use to make these. So first off, I'm doing the base of these with kind of a 2-ingredient dough. So what you're going to need for that is 2 cups of self-rising flour. And then you're gonna need a cup of plain fat-free Greek yogurt. I love this Fage, that's always the one I use anymore, especially when I'm doing anything 2-ingredient dough. Next up, I've got some of this Isopure creamy vanilla protein powder. I'm gonna be using a scoop of that, which is 31 grams. It's also just about a 1/4 cup. You could use whatever type of protein powder you prefer, that's just our personal favorite. And then you're gonna need some unsweetened almond milk. I'm gonna be using a 1/3 cup of this. For the blueberries in this, I've got a cup of frozen, just because it's not blueberry season. And I figure the frozen are gonna work pretty much just as well, but you could use fresh if you want. And I also do not have these defrosted. I'm just going with them frozen right out of the freezer. And then speaking of frozen, I've got 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of real butter here. This is salted butter. Now, I don't typically use a lot of butter anymore. I usually use a butter spread to kind of cut down on calories, points, all that good stuff. But in something like scones, I just kind of think real butter is going to yield a much better product. So instead of using a really large amount of butter that you would typically find in scones, I've just cut it way back, but I want to still use the real butter. Here I've got a medium lemon. You're going to need the zest of this and then about 1.5 teaspoons of juice from it. You're gonna need 2 large eggs, 1 for the scones, and then 1 to brush on top. For sweetener in this, I'm using this Lakanto Classic. You're gonna need 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of this, or whatever your preferred calorie-free sweetener is. And then to sprinkle on top of these, I'm gonna be using some of this King Arthur Flour sparkling white sugar. I'm probably gonna use around a tablespoon of that, but I will have the actual amount in the recipe builder when I see what I use. You're also gonna need a tablespoon baking powder and then finally a teaspoon vanilla extract. And that is everything that I'm using in these, so let me get us started. But first, before I get started, actually, I'm gonna put my blueberries and my butter back in the freezer because I especially wanna keep this butter nice and cold. You want this as cold as you can get it because that's just gonna help create little pockets of air and make these scones fluffier. So these 2 I'm gonna go ahead and put back in my freezer until I'm ready for them. So in a large bowl here, I'm gonna first start off with adding in my 2 cups of self-rising flour, my scoop of protein powder, 1/4 cup of my sweetener, and tablespoon baking powder. And give that a good stir. And I should say I've got my oven preheating to 425 right now. Okay, I've got that stirred together well, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside, and I'm gonna grab my lemon. I'm gonna go ahead and zest this, and I have washed this lemon very well. And when you're zesting, you're just looking for the outside yellow part. You don't wanna get into that white pith because it's bitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and zest this, and then I'll be back. I got that zested, and that's what I got out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dump that into my flour mixture. And then I'm gonna take my lemon and I'm going to go ahead and juice it so I can get my 1.5 teaspoons juice. And that's gonna be more than enough from that 1/2. So now, in a medium-sized bowl, I'm gonna add in 1 egg, my 1/3 cup almond milk, cup fat-free Greek yogurt, teaspoon vanilla, and then 1.5 teaspoons of the lemon juice. Now I'm gonna just whisk all of that together really well. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm gonna take my dry ingredients here and I'm gonna add in my butter. That is nice and cold, frozen actually. And then with a pastry cutter, I'm gonna just kind of work that butter into my flour mixture, along with the lemon zest I've got. And you wanna just cut this butter in until you've got pieces that are roughly the size of a pea, because you wanna definitely leave pieces in here, which is part of the reason why you wanna have it nice and cold, because then it's not going to get integrated in there as easily and you'll have the little pieces of it. So I'm gonna work on this and then I'll be back when I've got that where I want it. Got that butter worked in there pretty well. There's little chunks throughout. So now what I'm gonna do is kind of make a well in the center here. And I'm gonna pour in my wet ingredients. And I'm gonna just mix those until they are just combined. You don't wanna over mix this. And here's how that is looking. I've got it just mixed to where you're not really seeing the dry anymore. There might be a little tiny bit on the bottom, but just mixed together. So now I'm gonna grab my blueberries and we're gonna add those in. Let's grab my blueberries, throw those in, and fold those in. Okay, now I'm gonna take my dough and lay down a piece of parchment paper. I'm gonna put my dough on it. This is gonna be sticky, so actually I'm gonna grab some cooking spray for my hands real quick. Just sprayed my hand with a little bit of cooking spray and that just kind of helps. I'm gonna spray the other one too. Just not to stick as much. I'm just gonna kind of press this out to a rough rectangle. And then I'm going to kind of fold it one side, fold it on the other, press it back out. This is really sticky. You could also use some flour, but that's gonna probably up the points. So I try to get away with using as little flour as I can. Flip this again. The other way. And this is just kind of a way of kneading this without really kneading it, because you don't really want to work this dough any more than you have to. All right, now I'm gonna just kind of press this out to about an inch thick. Now that I've got that formed how I want it, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down the middle. And you can form these in whatever shape you want. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my pan. All right, I've got a quarter sheet pan here that I sprayed with a little cooking spray. Put a piece of parchment on that I also sprayed top of. Now I'm gonna try to lay these on here. So I've got these on here. So now I'm gonna take my second egg. I'm gonna beat that up. Got that beaten. So now I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna baste it on the tops of these. This is just gonna create a seal for them. I'm gonna start off with a teaspoon of the sugar and I'm gonna just kind of sprinkle on the tops of these. And I'm gonna use one more teaspoon. Got those sprinkled. Now I'm gonna put them in my preheated oven at 325. You basically just want to cook these until they are lightly brown, so I'll be back at that point. I let these bake just about 18 minutes. They are looking done. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let them cool for about 5 minutes and then I'm gonna move them onto a wire rack to cool a little bit more. But we will break into one here in a minute and see what it looks like and tastes like. All right, we've let these cool a good 5 minutes. My husband obviously wants to try it. Before you take that, I gotta give the points though.
I love scones.
So the points on these are going to be 5 points apiece. That's what they look like inside. Hopefully that's picking up. Okay. Go ahead, give it a taste. Yes. I'll take a little bite myself here.
So you really get the lemon zest. I mean, it really comes across as the texture's not like a traditional scone.
No, it's lighter for sure. A lot more spongy.
But the flavor, yes, because scones aren't super sweet.
No,
they're kind of savory with just the hints of whatever it is, and that's really what this has going for it.
Yeah, I like the lemon zest in there. I think that's really good. And I almost didn't add the sugar on top, but I definitely think that makes it more scone-like too.
Yeah.
Kind of ties that in.
Oh
yeah.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah, that's real good. Now, I will say, when I was making these, the dough was definitely tricky. A little more wet than what you would be expecting, which made it really hard to work with. And I'm thinking that's because with the ingredients I used and then the frozen blueberries, it was just too much moisture. So I would suggest, I mean, I was able to make it work, but it was definitely tricky. So I would suggest that if you're going to use frozen fruit blueberries in this, to decrease your almond milk down to 1/4 cup. And I'll make a notation of that in the instructions down below in the description box. If you use if you use non-frozen, fresh berries, I think it'd be okay. But it was when I added the berries in there that the dough just got really, really a little too moist, I guess. Too much moisture in there. So that would be my recommendation, is to cut it down to 1/4 cup if you're going to use the frozen. Otherwise, I think it'd be fine. But yeah, those are definitely delicious. Something you want again?
Yes. Please.
Okay.
Worth every point.
Yes, I said they were 5 points, right? I did mention that?
Yes, you did.
Okay, and these would be good, and you could do these plain also. You don't necessarily need, I think they'd be good just with the lemon zest almost, don't you? And no blueberries?
They would be good for sure. I mean, I like the blueberries.
Yeah. And I don't know, you can do different fruits, different flavor combos in this, but yeah, those are yummy. I will definitely be messing around with this or playing around with this and doing maybe a different, maybe like a chocolate or something with these. Yeah. All right. Yeah, okay. I'm going to call that a success, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.